The critical question of Cameroon's problem is not based on its people, but it is based on the leadership and leadership of those who are in power. The question as to whether or not Cameroon can emerge in 2035 is based on those who are the helm of power. It is also based on those whom we have elected to represent us at the different constituencies as municipal councillors, mayor, parliamentarians, members of the upper echelon, that is the senators, as well as the regional councillors and also the president of the regional assembly. These are the men and women whom the critical question of resolving Cameroon's problem lies in their hands. And when we look at Cameroon, it is a nation which is said to be African in miniature, a nation that is described by many Western countries as a very rich country whose people are supposed to enjoy the dividends of their numerous mineral and human resources. It is a nation with much expectation, a nation which is united by over 250 ethnic groups with diversified cultural tradition, a nation that is bilingual, bicultural and bijural, a nation which is governed by the common and civil law, a nation that embraced reintroduction of multi-party politics in 1990 by President Paul Biya, a nation in which many youth have been ruled under the caption of great ambition, great realization, rigor and moralization, great opportunity. A nation which is supposed to emerge in 2035, but the nation constantly plunge in its expectation. As we look at the plethora of issues plaguing Cameroon, especially within the ambit of the Northwest and Southwest region crisis, that has been described by some officials as the conflict or a war or a conflict which they say it is just a handful of fighters who are still in the bushes, one is tempted to reflect on what was published in 1859 by a revered literature writer, Charles Dickens. In his book titled A Tale of Two Cities, those of you who have been opportune to read the book Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, you will be tempted to conclude that Charles Dickens was actually writing a prophecy of Cameroon. And when we look at the current context that we face, we are just tempted to go back to read the book of Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, in which it is said it was a time, the time of good times and the time of bad times. It was also the age of wisdom and the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief and the epoch of incredulity. It was a season of light and a season of darkness. It was a hope of spring and a winter of despair. We have seen numerous wisdoms, foolishness at the same time, light and darkness at the same time. And all of these we should ask ourselves this one question: how ready are we for the advancement of Cameroon's democracy? And this puts us into the context of today's discussion: how independent is Cameroon judiciary? And also, towards the end of the program, we shall be joined by our panelists in Nigeria that shall also give their verdict as far as democracy in Cameroon and Nigeria is concerned. This is House of Commons with me, Tamai Jarvis. You're welcome back. If you are joining us, you're watching House of Commons with me, Mike Jarvis. Joining us in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, is Barrister Nkea. He was supposed to be here, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, he's joining us via telephone lines. Barrister Nkea, thanks for joining us, and happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, and thank you to Jarvis for inviting me to this program. I apologize for not being able to be there physically. Like I said in the morning, I have a tied-up schedule in Yaoundé. I would have loved to be there physically.
Thank you very much, Barrister. And while we hope that the technician will display your picture on the screen for us to keep the conversation going, we have also been joined here in the studio by Dr. John Ako, who is also here with us. Doctor, happy Sunday.
Yeah, once more time, a pleasure again on my media prime and again House of Commons this Sunday to inform Cameroonians on a pertinent, in fact, one of the most plaguing issues that disturbs Cameroonian lifestyle. If President Paul Biya had been 41 years, it might equally have been 41 years of misfeed of the judiciary, the incapacity of accountability and self-reliance of the judiciary entirely on the executive arm of the government. The precisions have been made by Article 37 of the Cameroon Constitution 1996, where the president shall appoint, shall suspend and even dismiss those that do not carry out their wishes. And somewhere again, he has the mandate to guarantee the independence of the judiciary, that which is the topic of this particular Sunday. Thank you very much.
Also here in the studio, we have Awudu Emmanuel. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Tamai Jarvis. Happy Sunday to all the viewers of my media prime and House of Commons. Today we are talking about the judiciary in Cameroon and the 70 seats all ravaged by the CPDM party in Cameroon. The judiciary is one of the main core where corruption has been so fatal in that domain in Cameroon. I'm not the one saying it. The national.
We'll be coming to the topic now.
Yeah, the annual.
I know. I'm just welcoming you. Coming to the topic.
Thank you very much.
Barrister Nkea, thanks for joining us. I begin the program with you. Let's take you back to the Gambia, where an arrest warrant was issued some time ago, and just a week ago you received an official apology from the Gambia. Can you take us through that?
A long road that cannot be explained to you in 2-3 minutes, 10 hours even, because it's quite a lengthy issue. But what is important is that I served in the Gambia, as you would know, in the highest level of the judiciary as a judge, president of the Special Criminal Court, and I resigned in 2014 due to attempts at judicial capture. I resigned and returned to Cameroon, and I think my resignation took a lot of people by surprise. Frustrated a lot of people, and sometimes after my return to Cameroon, my attention was drawn to the fact that there was these posters all over the place indicating that Justice Nkea was wanted. In fact, I saw that online in one of the news publications. And I decided to engage the Gambian government judicially before the ECOWAS court to establish why and for what reasons, if at all, my name was being published in that adverse fashion. And that is what led to this apology when they carried out their own investigations and found that there was no reason, no justification for the publication and the issuance of the warrant. And that's why it was withdrawn.
Barrister, now, let us narrow it down now to Cameroon. And let's look at the Cameroon system. We are talking about how independent is the judiciary. We have seen how official apology has been tendered to you from the Gambia. And when we look at Cameroon context, how independent, you are a senior lawyer in Cameroon, how independent is Cameroon's judiciary system?
Now, Mr. Jarvis, I think I will simply say to you that whether the Cameroon judiciary is independent or not depends on where you stand. And from an objective legal perspective, I think that the Cameroon judiciary is steeped, its hands are tight, and there are lots of other things that happen which will suggest that the judiciary is not as independent as it ought to be. And you would want to understand what judicial independence is all about to better appreciate whether our judiciary is that independent as it ought to be. First of all, you must know in one sentence that judicial independence touches, refers to the ability of the judiciary, judicial actors, judges, magistrates, to be able to take crucial decisions based solely on the law and their conscience, without any external influence of any sort, be it corruption, be it executive influence, be it influence from peer groups and things like that, or being rumors and things like that. So that is what it's supposed to be. And so you'll ask yourself the same question, Mr. Jarvis, whether in this country today we can say with certainty that judicial independence is the norm. I will say so with practical example. We have seen cases which have been decided in the courts and the judgments have not been executed. We have seen clear instances where other non-judicial officers, you call them extrajudicial officers, people who are trained to be judicial officers, but who by appointment are not part of the bench, interfering in very flagrant and ways in which will leave a lot of questions to be answered. And so for me, my honest opinion is that the judiciary in Cameroon is 30% independent.
30%, you said. I'll briefly remember you coming to other members of the panel. You talked about the fact that Cameroon's judiciary seems to have their hands very tight. And now I want to quote you with a minister of the nation, Minister Paul Atanganji, who says that Cameroon is a state of law and that no one is above the law and no one is below the law. When we look at the plethora of issues across the judiciary system, let us go back to the cases that had occurred in Cameroon. The case in hand, we are looking at the Wazizi saga, which is still hanging out to now. Justice have not been served. We are looking at the fact that there have been a lot of extrajudicial killings. We have also looked at arbitrary arrests. But when you get a senior minister talking about the fact that Cameroon is a state of law and that no one is above the law, in what context could he be referring to here, you as a lawyer? And can we say that he's either right or wrong?
Yes, Mr. Jarvis, you see, Cameroon has good laws. That cannot be confused. Cameroon has very good laws. In fact, I think Cameroon has one of the best laws in Africa. But the issue is not about the law itself, it is about its application. Now, when you appoint people who are supposed to administer the law, and those people are by their nature influenced by other issues other than the law, then you get a situation where the law says one thing and we have a different thing on the ground. If you look at the case of Wazizi, for example, you will agree with me that it cannot be said that we are in a state of law when a journalist is killed in police custody, military custody, and for 2-3 years accountability has not been established. Even when the head of state by himself comes out on public to say that he has ordered for an investigation to take place. He's put in place a commission of inquiry, and we do not know the outcome of that commission of inquiry. In fact, it seems as if the outcome it's been buried in the same secretive process in which the inquiry was established. And I mean, that is one of the glaring examples that will agitate your mind as to whether the laws that we have in our statute books are the same as in practice.
I also want to take you to the case of the media, the purported No Pity's former girlfriend, and also want you to look at what happened with the current issues of Martin Zogo, comparing it now with what we have as far as Wazizi and also No Pity's former girlfriend is concerned. Was this justice? Is this the rule of law?
Now, Mr. Jarvis, I will say again that you see the laws are there, and the only difference is in its application. Now, in the case of the former girlfriend of No Pity, as you call it, Pongso Antoinette, I was lead counsel in that matter again, and we had a certain level of high-handedness from the legal department at the military tribunal. We had filed letters of application for bail. The application was ignored, and we exploited the law. The law says when you file and within 5 days you don't have a response, you are obliged to approach the what you call the inquiry control chambers of the Court of Appeal, which has a supervisory role over all examining magistrates. We approached that court, and when we approached that court, how the panel of the court was created and who was appointed to represent the legal department in the Court of Appeal was not our business. In fact, the legal department was represented by an advocate general of the Court of the Procurator General's chambers, instructed by the Procurator General to represent the Procurator General in that case. And we had legal arguments in court. The Procurator General objected to the application. The court granted the application for bail. And when it granted the application for bail, the legal department, the Procurator General's office, refused to execute that release on bail, that bail order, and gave us no reasons why they did so. They refused, flagrantly refused, and refused to even appeal, and then proceeded, and that's the most difficult aspect of it, proceeded to subject those judges who issued that decision on disciplinary action before the higher judicial council. You know, it gives the impression again, I mean, when the law says your conscience on the law, and then you apply that, and then you see that you know, disciplinary measures are being meted on you by a lower arm of government.
For doing your job.
For doing your job. Because by law, the Procurator General's office is subservient to the judges of the Court of Appeal. They are subservient to the judges of the Court of Appeal. And then when you give a decision as a judge of the Court of Appeal, and you are asked to go and answer query to your subordinate, it makes it ridiculous, and it puts the whole question of judicial independence into such ridiculous speculation. Now, with the case again, you made the case of Zogo. Zogo was murdered in the fashion that we all see, and that we now only have become public news. And of course, you saw that investigations were opened in a very extraordinary manner by the head of state himself. That tells you, of course, that the judiciary, the prosecution, the legal department had failed to do its job, and that the head of state had to swing in, either because he feared that those who were involved had overbearing influence over the legal department in the central region, or that the issue was such that he needed to come in to ensure that justice be done. But that is not how. How often have we heard that the head of state of this country has ordered investigation? When he did so in the case of Wazizi, we didn't see this, playing out in the fashion that it has played out in the Zogo trial. We didn't see people arrested. We didn't see people subjected to examining magistrates to question their role in the murder of Wazizi. But in the case of Zogo, we have seen that played out in a very different fashion. And that gives us the question, it pricks our mind all the time. Is it because of this cultural discrimination? Is it because Wazizi was an Anglophone? And is it because Zogo is a Francophone? Those are issues which brings into play what you call differential justice. And once there is differential justice, there is no justice. There is no rule of law. And when there's no rule of law, no matter whether the judiciary is independent or not, it's a farce.
Okay, senior barrister, senior advocate for Cameroon, Barrister Nkea, will be getting back to you. We'll put a call back to you. Let's come back to the studio. We'll give you a call.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Just tape will get back to you. That was barrister, senior barrister Nkea Emmanuel, who has been a justice in the Gambia and is also very active in Cameroon and struggling to ensure that we have the rule of law in Cameroon, and had been able to defend those who don't have the means as far as justice, to get justice, is concerned in Cameroon. We're getting back to him. Let's come back to the studio. Dr. Ako John Ako, you've listened to senior barrister Andrew Emmanuel, Nkea Emmanuel, rather. I'm tempted to listen to him, and he talked about the fact that drawing inspiration from the Mildred case, and also the fact that justice was kind of very stifled in the process, judicial process. When you look at all these, you are now a scholar. I want us to look at this from an academic perspective. How independent is this, based on what senior barrister Nkea Emmanuel just noted?
Yeah, not really getting into others. He said a lot, and one of which caught my attention is the fact that in Cameroon we have what they call cultural discrimination. The cultural discrimination aspect between the English Cameroon and the French Cameroonians, it's what has been exercised in the case of Wazizi, and equally the Mildred case, and equally made mention of the differential system of justice. The differential system of justice, where people are categorized and others given a different quota to what they think. And I believe it has been one of the cause of what we call the marginalization process, and even the assimilation process that the head of state has incarnated in France during the Paris Peace Conference. And we are equally thinking that the judiciary in Cameroon are modeled and recognized by the 1996 constitution, that there is a need to guarantee the independence of the judiciary, stated in Article 37 of that very constitution, becomes very fallacious and again confusing to the fact that it is the head of state, and even more, the executive that appoints, the executive that suspends, the executive that promotes, the executive that appreciates, the executive equally that dismisses. Imagine, in such an extent, you will realize now that somewhere the judiciary in Cameroon is completely subservient to the executive arm of the government, which becomes the spirit of accountability, which means that the judiciary is more accountable to the executive. And to what extent such a judiciary is set to be independent become a question of time, which has not been guaranteed by the same constitution as seen in other modeled systems around the world. In the United States, for example, the President of the Republic might have the mandate to appoint, but does not have the mandate to dismiss or to suspend. That will only come in after congressional review or maybe members of parliament. Otherwise, like that in the United Kingdom, where the independence of the judges of the House of Lords is guaranteed again by the laws of the land, stating clearly that their mandate is for a lifetime and that they can either take retirement voluntarily by resignation, and let such resignation not be enforced by any other third party or by any other group. And if it is so the case, then the individual responsible will pay heavily. Why not? In Cameroon, we realize that since the head of state is equally the chief or supreme leader of the magistrate, he wants who review and even promotes or even against sanction, makes part of the government or even the act of the government like that of the judiciary, which is essential. If you read the books or you have read the books of Jean-Jacques Rousseau or Montesquieu, you realize that it was a spirit in the law that these three arms of the government, the executive, legislative, and the judiciary, should be independent. In Cameroon, it's a complete holabalo in the sense that it is presented as such, and the documents entitling that. The institutions, people will tell you when you listen from Barrister Nkea, Cameroon has very beautiful laws. But when it comes to implementation, there is a problem. And at times there are a lot of intricacies, inconveniences within the constitution which we can't guarantee. How do you bite the figure that fits you, owing to the fact that the executive again pays the magistrates? And to what extent can they stand independent? The independence of the judiciary at one part again will mean fearful independence or fear or far from interference and influence of the executive organ. And this is just what we have seen. When you look at the case of Martinez-Zogo, the instructions that were given by the executive for that procedure to go on comes from the executive. When you look at the case of Wazizi and many others, Sam Soya in Bamenda and even the Ngabu massacre, it gives an intention that the executive was not interested, and so nothing about it should be said, and those who are responsible have not even been identified or even set a commission of inquiry to it. When such orders shows direct executive influence on the judiciary, the judiciary becomes more of a puppet or a toothless bulldog. The system in Cameroon is far from being appreciated. When somewhere the executive or the judiciary is look at that arm of the government which equally is supposed to guarantee accountability of state transactions, mean terms of office, tenure, expenditure was supposed to be under the judiciary. To what extent the judiciary can investigate and even question members of the executive organ still remain very far to be answered, and that we wish that the next generation, the next constitution of Cameroon, need to look at it very clearly, that the moment you mix the executive and the judiciary in a system, then human rights violation is a recurrent. When there is a direct influence on the judicial process, you equally find that many human rights violations are regular. And we need to think of the cases of so many political agents or political parties, leaders, or human rights activists that have been continuously arrested in Cameroon. Accounts are not given for. We are talking presently of the case of a fellow brother, a fellow Southern Cameroonian, Abdul Karim, that have been held incommunicado for this close to 11 months. And we are still waiting when justice shall prevail. If the independence of the judiciary in Cameroon is far from the executive, then the process is supposed to kickstart just the next day after you are arrested. For when you are arrested, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. And you should not be arrested when the state does not even have the facts for you. But several times, the direct interference and influence from the executive indicates that people are even arrested or questioned without even having a case against them. This makes us find people passing already time within the barracks or behind bars for close to 3, 4, 5 years without even having the crimes or the charges against. This is one of which we said the judiciary in Cameroon is more of a political ambition than a political reality.
Dr. Ako John Ako, many will not agree with you on that. For example, they will tell you that the arrest of ministers, arrest of former ministers who have embezzled is a proof that Cameroon judicial system is very much alive. They will also tell you that the fact that Antoinette was actually released after spending due time is evident that the judiciary is independent. They will also tell you that when they look at the Constitutional Council, where post-electoral petitions are given and members have the right to express their mind, their grievance, that the judiciary is independent. And they will also tell you that when they look at the series of laws that have been passed to Cameroon through the parliament, and also some of the judicial decisions taken as far as the nation is concerned, is a proof that the judiciary is independent. And also we tell you that the fact that the members of the Constitutional Council are not part of CPDM is a proof that the judiciary is independent.
Mr. Tamai, it is shocking. The examples you have listed are even some of those examples that have failed the same system. You remember in 2018, the presidential petition made before Clement Satangana, the president of the Constitutional Council. He has been a staunch supporter of President Paul Biya 40 years or 41 years in power. And when such an ex-retired officer is appointed to become the president of one of the most valuable judicial institutions in Cameroon, the Constitutional Council, it gives an indication to him that he was already on retirement and that it is by grace that the head of state has given to him. It comes back to the saying I started, you cannot bite the finger that fits you. And so Atana Clemence thought it is an appreciation and a gift the head of state. Were there no more, were there no vibrant young judges still in activity in government that the government would have appointed than bringing somebody who is on retirement? When you look at that particular role, it means all what lawyers fought for, electoral fraud, electoral mishandling or mismanagement, it was just fake, like they just did now. All the petitions were irreceivable and they cannot find grounds to invoke. The judiciary is based one of those systems that investigate and pass judgment based on facts of the case and the law in place. But when you said it is unfounded, not founded, rejeté, I mean you are insulting that those lawyers who make up such petitions are not qualified to stand before you. As against a judicial system like we have in other regimes, we were thinking that there would have even been an act that if there was fraud, can we investigate it? Given to the days he had to even pass judgment, he did not recognize that he had time to even investigate the files, whether such allegations made by the petitioners were appropriate. It becomes again worrying that when you find a woman like Mildred, the wife or former girlfriend of Nopiti, also being caught in such a situation, and the government, do you know what I mean by accountability, independence, and fairness or transparency? Is that such a woman whose days have been spent without a verifiable cause was supposed to be compensated for the days she passed behind bars. But they said the government belongs to all, and so she was simply discharged. Who will compensate her for the days she passed behind bars without really having a criminal charge levied against her? This is what comes again, that the executive...
Was that a message that criminal responsibility is shared?
Obviously, it is normal that it must be shared when you commit a wrong and that person's morale has been intimidated. You have a measure to pay damages or compensation for bringing down such reputation. Just imagine what you were talking with Barrister Nkea and the situation of the Special Criminal Tribunal in Gambia. It is very normal that when such allegations are made against you, not even such an individual, but at the end they are unfounded. Their apology, at times, it's a great recognition
from the Minister of Justice.
That is what we are saying. But in Cameroon, we find it so difficult. Some people tell you, I pity this my old father, the father of the PAP party. Yes, Barrister Paul Abine, that somewhere he was taken by crooks in the government who wanted to prove to him that they are stronger than him, taken to Kondegi. To the surprise of the head of state, he was doubting why Aya is in prison. And after leaving the prison, nobody has even said anything, whether he's supposed to be compensated. We had this guy, the former mayor of Njombe Penja, Paul Erikinge, whom the government equally recognizes that all the charges levied against him were wrong, and the government had to compensate him billions of francs CFA. We are still to see whether those billions have been paid, or they are still, when are they going to be paid? A lot of that. Think of that boy who, because of his frustration at one of the PHP plantations in Jombe Penja, was arrested from that place and locked up. Who will compensate him when we present worries in such a system, when the name of the head of state, who is looked upon like the supreme magistrate of the state, is being mingled, and people just arrest you because they want to buy immigrants? Is that the judicial system in which we are? We have seen Donald Trump being insulted. We have seen others sending the photos of Donald Trump online. But as a leader, uneasy lies the head.
Even in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, yeah.
They make mockery of Buhari and the rest.
Tinubu. So what uneasy lies the heads that bears the crown? It is not because we have the laws or the judiciary hand, or we have the police and the army, that we can give command. Excessive force from the government towards a civilian or his subordinate should equally be sanctioned if the judiciary is independent.
Thank you very much, Barrister Dr. John Ako. John Ako, I come to you. Nkea Emmanuel, your take on this topic.
Well, if someone should pretend to say that the judiciary system in Cameroon is independent, that person should be an enemy of the state, because we have many enemies of the state in Cameroon. Those who have decided to see what is white and they have said it is black, and when they see what is blue they say it's red, and those are the people who have helped to bring down Cameroon to its knees where it is today. I will give you some examples. In a state where the judiciary is independent, Tama Jarvis, the judiciary corps doesn't act on the high instructions of the head of state. In a system where the judiciary is independent, we will not expect that somebody from the Supreme Court magistracy like Paul Abine, whom the laws of the land, the penal code spells it out, no citizen should be arrested on a weekend, except you are caught on what they call in their French language flagrant délit. That is, except you are caught on first proof, but you discover that this man was taken in a certain evening of a certain Saturday, locked up in Konenge, like Dr. Ako said a while ago, by some people within the government apparatus who just wanted to send him a message and to show proof of the fact that power was in their hands. In a country where the judiciary system is independent, you wouldn't have an explanation as to why Basil Atanganakuna, who had embezzled sums of millions in Cameroon, that could go a long way to solve the problem of water and energy that we are having today. Many Cameroonians have died of cholera. Many Cameroonians have died of malaria because they did not have good drinking water. That it took the head of state just a pen to liberate him, and we did not see those of the judicial system play their role. And we keep asking ourselves, is this system not being so discriminated into a way, into a manner in which the whole world should know that in Cameroon, when the lawyers were talking about the common law system and the civilian law system in east of the Mongo, were they not right? Because from other examples, you discover that when it comes to taking somebody, just look at the case of the Anglophone war in southern Cameroon, or call it northwest and southwest if you wish. There are people who have been arrested there without any proof of a crime committed, yet they are in Konenge today. And at one point in time, you will be told that the government granted them clemency. I mean the president, without the court deciding or passing judgment that this person arrested on so and so day had no crime. He has been proven innocent. But they will tell you that it is presidential pardon, presidential clemency, which means we are already in a state that everything begins from the president and ends back with the president. This actually again confirms the fact that we have one arm of government in Cameroon, and that one arm of government is only the executive. You cannot talk about the legislative in Cameroon. You cannot talk about the judiciary, because all of these are a subset of the executive.
When you say we have one arm of government, what do you mean? Because we have seen people went out to the polls to vote for their choice parliamentarians. We also saw how they went out to vote for their choice municipal councillors, who have now voted the senators. Overwhelmingly, 70 of the senators are from the one political party. So now you are talking about, we are also seeing the judiciary system where the higher judicial court have also been able to pass that judgment. Keep aside some of the political issues, they have passed that judgment also for banditry and also help to give some people justice. So when you talk about the fact that we have just one arm of government, is that not an overstatement for a country which is said to be a state of law by Mr. Paul Atanganji?
I am this you and this you are Atanganji Paul that you quote every day. You know, some of the people who have destroyed Cameroon are some of the people that Cameroonians are taking for their models, of which I, Nkea Emmanuel, am not one. When I say the executive in Cameroon, that there's only one arm of government in Cameroon, which is the executive, I simply mean that the executive overrides the decision of every other arm of government in Cameroon, which was not supposed to have been the case. In the parliament, let's start from there. In the parliament, we all know that no bill leaves the presidency and goes to the parliament and can be rejected. And we know that it is the presidency that decides what happens at the National Assembly.
You know, not we. Because we know that this is a due process. Oh, you say you know.
I insist.
Because
Cameroonians.
We are using we, you are using.
I insist.
You are collectively, and the CPDM and also government officials and myself will not seem to say we, because we have seen how.
Are you now defending the interests of the CPDM?
I'm not defending the interest. I'm just being objective here. We have seen the House, the Parliament.
Well, in other words, you mean that I am not being objective. I assume it. I am repeating and I'm insisting here that what happens in the National Assembly of Cameroon is being dictated by the presidency. For whom to become the president of the National Assembly, if Mr. Bia doesn't validate, if he doesn't accept, that person will not be. That explains why during the coronavirus, the president of the National Assembly, who was in France, had to come back to Cameroon, violated all the COVID-19 rules to get to the National Assembly because he wanted to be maintained as the National Assembly president. Did you get the judiciary react? No. But at that very time, I am a victim where I've been held twice during the coronavirus because I was not putting on a mask. We have Barrister Asira, who entered Cameroon and decided to keep himself on quarantine because he wanted to respect the rules of the COVID-19. Why was the case of the president of National Assembly not taken by the judiciary? When we talk about the judiciary here, it involves
maybe there were hot files that he wanted to resolve that could
and the hot files
keep the nation going.
And the hot files were not hotter than he who was supposed to show us the example, who break all the rules and went free. We are saying that in a country where the justice system is not independent, everybody who is linked to the executive is free to violate these rules and go free. And that is exactly what has been happening in Cameroon. We know of ministers in Cameroon who have been indicted by the population for certain crimes. The judiciary is even afraid to call their name or to call them for questioning. You saw in the United States of America how Donald Trump was impeached. You saw how he was defeated by Joe Biden in the election and he left despite all the blah 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 that he met. But in the case of Cameroon, we have seen a situation where the president single-handedly changes a constitution of the country from United Republic of Cameroon to Federal Republic of Cameroon to United Republic of Cameroon. He has changed the constitution that gives the president a lifetime seat
no, we are
at the presidency.
The Republic of Cameroon, not the United Republic of Cameroon.
No, we are talking about
changes to the Republic of Cameroon, La Republique du Cameroon.
Changing from La République du Cameroon.
Changing it to
what are you saying? Yes, to La République. Good. Thank you. Changing it to La République of Cameroon. We did not see the rule of law come in there. Because the constitution of a country has to be interpreted and exercised by the judiciary arm of the government. Yet, we have not seen that in Cameroon. And a lot of many things remains questionable in Cameroon. Because those who are supposed to exercise the rule of law have become the lawbreakers in Cameroon. Since they are above the law, nobody can question them. I want to tell you that if Cameroon actually was in a state of law, just in the case of Martinez Zogo that you mentioned a while ago, and with all the kind of information, both on media and off media, some ministers in this country would have already been called to order.
Yes,
would have already been called to questioning.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. We have just been joined by Barrister Nkea Emmanuel again. Barrister, I want us now to look at the political issues of Cameroon. With 70 seats taken by the Cameroon's People's Democratic Movement, which is the upper echelon, and we are also expecting the head of state to appoint 30 of these senators, which is for sure that the head of state may or will appoint members of his political party. That gives the ruling party the overwhelming majority. What is the place of law in terms of looking at the fact that the upper echelon is one party system? What is the place of law, and how much can we guarantee that the bills will be well vetted after being sent to the senatorial, to the upper echelon?
Mr. Jarvis, like I have always said, it is not the perception of a multi-party politics that make Cameroon a multi-party state. It is not also the perception that we have 70 people from the same political party that stifles political debate. What is true is that it depends on the quality of persons and their independence of conscience to participate in national issues that will make the difference. We have seen in the past where people from a political party have dissociated themselves with the position taken by that particular political party, either in parliament or in Senate. So for me, it is not automatic that because 70 people come from a particular political party that is going to shape political thinking in a particular fashion. But again, how have we gotten to this position where we find that the other political parties have simply disappeared from the political landscape? I think it is because the opposition political parties, the SDF and the others that were in existence, vibrant after the reintroduction of multi-party politics in Cameroon, suddenly transformed themselves into some other oligarchy. So they were unable to truly combat the system that they preached, they wanted to change. So, I mean, at the end of it, people discovered that the CPDM was a little bit better in terms of structuring, in terms of discipline, and in terms of order, than those other political platforms. I'm speaking from a very objective perspective. If you look at the SDF, what do we see? We see one man, Fundi, who has been at the head of it for since, from inception to date. And we see that all forms of divergent political opinions have been suppressed with dismissal from the party. So how do you expect that kind of political party to be vibrant in its base? It dies. And if you look at other political platforms that they had a similar fate, we are watching closely at the party of Kamto to see whether it will make any difference.
MRC.
Yeah, we are yet to see. But from this development, you discover that can we get what we want? Right? We get what we want. What we have 70 senators from the same political party. That is what Cameroon deserves at this time, because politicians have failed us.
So, Barrister, is it not because the ruling party have a lot of resources, financial and human resources, to be stable as compared to some of these other opposition parties who are barely having the means, and also looking at the fact that implementation of some laws are kind of very difficult, and the guarantee of public space in terms of holding meetings to give political education to the militant is not well articulated in terms of members of the state?
That could be a factor, but I think it is a very negligible factor. When you say that a lot of resources, you are suggesting that Cameroonians are people who look closer only to where you find crumbs or something of that nature, or where they have you want to give the impression that Cameroonians are opportunists who only go to where there is money and things like that. From the inception of the SDF, I'm speaking from the SDF for the, in the context of the SDF as one of the counter-political force in this country from 1990, the UNDP. Look at them. Would you say that it is because of a lack of resources? It is not because of a lack of resources. Even then, why do we have the recent dismissal of top core members of the SDF today? Because they ask for accountability. They ask the chairman, where is the money that comes in to support political parties who are represented in parliament? It's a huge chunk of money. Where is that money going to? Fundi says, don't ask the question. You get the point. So I think that it is an example. It tells us, it sends a message to Cameroonians that Cameroonians we need a rethink on what political framework we need for this country. If we think that we want multi-party politics, I think my whole objective will be that the law be reviewed, and that we have 4 political parties equally funded by the state, 4 parties established by the state, and then on divergent, on different ideologies, like what you have in Nigeria. They will tell you that, okay, you have this party, and this party, and they're based on ideologies, and the people will fit in. Otherwise, I mean, where you have a situation where an individual gets up from his village in the morning and finds that he can set up a political party, rallies a few people, we all become opportunists and victims of that process.
You are a senior advocate and you also have a wide range of ideas and experience. You've moved across different countries in the world, and also you have talked with top world leaders. What would be advice to the ordinary man in the street as far as having a conception of the fact that it is a ruling party and so they don't expect much from the legislative arm is concerned?
I would rather say that it's a wait and see. It is a wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait and see whether bills that will go to Parliament will have any effective debate. But besides, that is even beside the point. You will remember, ask yourself, have we ever had any effective debate in Parliament, in the Senate since their creation? Have we ever
does that not go further to confirm the fact that 70 of the senators from one political party should be a question, looking at the fact that the Anglophone crisis in itself, if we look at the Constitution, the 1996 Constitution gives the Parliament or the Legislative House the power to actually look at security issues, to redefine property ownership as far as that is concerned. But as the war in the Northwest and Southwest region is concerned, we have not seen that actually being taken into consideration. I'll read to you a brief section of the section 26 of the 1996 Constitution, looking at how the legislative arm is concerned. On that section 26 of the 1996 Constitution, it states that sub 2A, that the state states that the following shall be reserved to the legislative power. A of that, the fundamental rights, guarantee, and obligations of the citizens. 2, it said that safeguarding individual freedom and security, and also the next point is the rules governing the public freedom. The third is labor legislation, trade union legislation, rules govern social security and insurance. The fourth is the duty and obligation of the citizen in respecting national defense requirement. Now, sub 2B of the 1996 Constitution, section 26, it states that the status of persons and properties ownership system, and also that nationality and also status of person, matrimony, succession, and gift. Now, the next point talk about the rule governing civil ceremony. And now, if we look at the fact that it talked about security issues, this the conflict in the northern and southwest region is a security matter, but we have not had them discuss it from the legislative house.
No, that is what I'll say to you, that it is not the number of people from different political parties that will shape debates in the National Assembly.
Yes, sir.
It's the content of the people themselves. The last legislature and the last Senate had members from different political platforms. We did not see how they contributed, whether they raised bills, whether they raised arguments, or any other thing to prop up that kind of debate.
Maybe their numbers were not enough, because we saw the SDF taking the restroom and singing, "Oh, they go kill retire," that the Anglophone issues will be discussed. They just had a handful.
I think that was the most primitive thing that you can ever imagine from a member of parliament behaving in the parliamentary session. What you will expect them to do is to stage a walkout. And what you will expect them to do is to pull out and issue a strong statement. What you will expect them to do is to petition to take action. Does the law prevent a member of parliament from instituting proceedings? Those are some of the civilized things that you expect members of parliament to do. But it's not to go and climb on the rostrum and start singing some songs that, are so primitive in their content and in their... It tells you a certain kind of framework that, a mind frame that we have. What I think is relevant for this country is the ability for Cameroonians to be able to make a choice of their own. And whether that choice is for the CPDM, is for the SDF, is for all some other political platform, let them make that choice and then they bear the consequences.
Okay.
If we have made the choice that of course, it was obvious that you will see the senatorial election play out this way because it's an electoral college. It is not universal suffrage. And so if you look at the constitution, how the various councils are composed in the country, of course, You can see that clearly. So it's not a magic. But if we come to the lower house of parliament, which is the National Assembly, where people are elected from universal suffrage perspective, then you can begin to talk that, the elections have gone this way, have gone that way, have gone this way. But whatever the case, Mr. Jarvis, I say that Cameroonians deserve, what they have is what they wanted. And they cannot be complaining at this point to say CPDM are taking everything. They cannot be complaining because they had other choices, and if they didn't find it fit to vote for people who could make the necessary change for them, then they let them pay the brunt.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senior Advocate for Cameroon, Barrister Nkea Emmanuel. It has been a privilege to have you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jarvis.
Happy Sunday. Stay safe.
Same to you. Same to you.
That was Senior Advocate for Cameroon, Barrister Nkea Emmanuel. This time around, I'll begin with you in the room, Emmanuel, before coming to Dr. John Ako. Of course, I know Doctor will have a lot to talk about. And when we are now on the second topic. I want Desmond to switch us to the second topic. We are looking at all 70. Barrister Nkea Emmanuel says the people got what they deserve. That the people actually from the beginning did not vote for the persons they wanted. And also he made mention of the fact that the opposition parties have failed, and that the opposition parties are also responsible, that they are behaving like the oligarchs, and which they don't respect their structure, and also the people see that since they don't have discipline, preferable they should go and join the CPDM. And you gave a prophecy that was I think a month ago that all 70
senators were to come from
CPDM, and we have seen that prophecy come true.
Yes, I'm not a prophet of doom anyway. You see, I will give you 3 determinants that can back what Barrister Nkea has just said, because I subscribe to his ideology in total. The first thing is, before this election came, we all knew that the municipal councillors all across the board in Cameroon, 90% were on CPDM ticket, which was already very visible and but logical that CPDM was going to carry the day. When you look at the case of Northwest and Southwest, you'll discover that they were supposed to produce 14 senators through the indirect suffrage, which of course by every logic they were going to have it. Why were they all going to have it? The CPDM has all the means. They have all the material and human resources. They have the military, they have the ammo cars, they have the guns, they have everything. Just take for example, for election to have taken place in Fundong, we had 13 trucks of the military that were put in Fundong. All these people, including the mayor, the duos, and all the authorities of that region, are behind CPDM. Now, tell me, where did the other parties expect a miracle to come from? The third determinant is the failure of the opposition, notably the SDF, which of course is already in history. It's already, in the dustbin, because we have all seen that SDF has lost it all. When you have oppositions in the country that do not actually know what they need, what has happened with the 70 senators in Cameroon will always happen. When you look at an opposition party like MRC that boycotted the twin election of 2020, that would have given them an opportunity to participate in the senatorial election, they boycotted. Before then, we have seen in 2018, everybody wants to become a president. The opposition in Cameroon has refused to speak with one voice, and this is because they see politics in Cameroon as a game of chance and not as opportunity to develop and change the narratives of the political landscape of Cameroon. From the day the opposition in Cameroon, including CPDM, that have been destroying Cameroon for 40 years or 41 years, shall know that politics is that opportunity for you to carry your nation forward, and that politics is not a game of chance. things like this will keep repeating themselves. And that explains why you have discovered that people like Sam Severin Angu, whom yesterday were members of the CRM, have finally discovered that it takes courage in Cameroon to resist CPDM eternally. Because if you are that person who went into politics with the intention to gain some little coins or gain position in a government, and you remain in opposition, be rest assured you will never gain anything in this country. That is why people like Jean Didier Momo, Sam Severin Angu, and a host
the G20.
The G20 and a host of them finally discovered that in order to gain something in Cameroon in the name of politics, you have to join CPDM, because CPDM is the way, the truth and the light when it comes to deceiving Cameroonians and destroying Cameroon. You saw breaking yesterday how they were celebrating 38 years of the existence of that party, CPDM, when it was changed in Bamenda from CNU to CPDM. You discovered that almost in all the celebration grounds, there were a lofty cake. Money was flowing. At the time when we are complaining that the economy is down, you saw people flowing money, 10,000, 5,000, cutting cakes to celebrate the destruction of Cameroon for 41 years.
You cannot say destruction.
No. I am saying, I assume it.
No, I know you assume
don't worry.
No, I know you assume it, but I want to give you litany of success of as far as the 40 years.
Which kind of success do you want to talk about CPDM?
Based on what we have had from the party.
CPDM has taken Cameroon 38 years back.
No,
as how it was before the president of that party came into power. So what I was saying,
I'm queuing you.
The 70 senators that the CPDM had in this just ended senatorial election was but very normal. Nobody should come out to spring surprise. That's what I foresaw it a month ago, and I made it clear. Any party that was going in for this election was just accompanying CPDM. They had nothing to offer, because opposition in itself has failed Cameroonians more than even the CPDM. Look at a party like SDF. SDF came to power with a slogan of power to the people. But over time, we have discovered that SDF usurped the power from the people, concentrated it in the hands of one man who can sack everybody within the ranks of that party who has a dissenting voice. We are saying that there is no opposition in Cameroon. We have main Jangi houses, main Jangi groups that wants to gain visibility by opposing today and turning to join the ruling party tomorrow, which is the CPDM, so that they can together join and destroy Cameroon. When you are arguing what I'm saying, corruption in Cameroon, can you call it one of the successes of the CPDM? Embezzlement in Cameroon for 41 years without any accountability, can we call it the successes of the CPDM?
Awudu Emmanuel, will you refuse the fact that for the last 40 years we have had the number of villages connected with electricity have quite increased? No, you have the right to report. You have the right. You have the right. I'm just stating you some of the things we have seen. We also look at the fact that we have had the establishment of the House of the Senate. We've had the establishment of the Senate. We have also had the establishment of the Regional Assembly. We've also had the expansion of state universities across the nation. We've also had the liberalization of freedom of the press. Remember that in when Aijo was there, we were ruled by the 1966 Draconian law, which did not give room for freedom of speech and expression, and that was a law that was instituted in 1929 in the French Cameroon, under which Mbale, the French newspaper, was banned and inherited by the Republic of Cameroon.
You are right.
And now we are looking at the draconian law. But today we are free to talk about political issues.
I will start.
No, I'm coming. You have a rebuttal in what I'm saying. You have a chance to rebut. Now we are looking at from the freedom. We are also looking at the reintroduction of multi-party politics that give room also freedom of association in the 1990 by President Paul Biya. Could we also not say that these are some of the successes that have recorded? But however, there are some areas that need expansion. Education, health.
Okay, Tama Jarvis, I will start with the freedom of speech that you said. It is true. We cannot all paint it black that today we have many televisions, we have many TVs. some of us have spoken and we are still alive. But you have to remember that some of us have already taken upon ourselves that we are the sacrificial lambs. And we don't, listen, and we don't care about the consequences anymore. How many people have spoken like this and they are still speaking? Some of them have spoken like the Zogos, they have been Zogofied. Some of them have spoken like the Wazizis, they have been Wazified. So a lot of them, we cannot actually ascertain that freedom of speech is a Cameroonian phenomenon. It is something that, just listen now, you just like we cannot say multipartism was a Cameroonian phenomenon. It was at a time when the wind of change was blowing across the whole of West Africa. Cameroon was not supposed to remain indifferent. And of course, when you talk about creation of schools, yes, we accept. To what extent has the creation of these schools helped Cameroon to develop? Because these schools that have been training people to speak more grammar and have been producing job seekers than job creators for 41 years is equally a failure on the part of the government. And to say that multipartism was a New Deal's invention, Mr. Tamai, that would be being dishonest to the viewers and to the Cameroonians.
Thank you.
We all know how it came about. It was not bias making.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Jarvis. The judicial system in Cameroon is an offshoot of its failed democracy. One of the tenets of democracy is that the separation of power between the executive, legislative, and judiciary arm of government. But in Cameroon case, the judiciary and the legislative are at the beck and call of the executive and the satisfied interest of a selected few. Justice has been butchered and miscarried, and this is a corollary of the failed democracy. A country with a hijacked justice is under democratic. This is coming from Mwalimu Bisong, writing in Tiku. This other read, it says, good afternoon to you, good day, Mr. Jarvis, to everyone in the house. I am Divine Ella, writing for Victoria. We are really enjoying your program. I want to confirm what Mr. Nkea Emmanuel is saying, that to say that Cameroon should just close down all the court because there is no independent judiciary in Cameroon, because everything is being done in Cameroon. One is on high instruction from the president, because nothing is independent, decided by the court without instructions from the president of the country. And this other reads, says, happy Sunday, good day to you, Jarvis and Dr. Ako John Ako, nice program, enjoying this program. This one, right, it says, good afternoon to you, nice program, God bless you, Barrister Nkea Emmanuel, for painting the picture as far as the issue of no pity wife is concerned. It's shocking that a judge is being petitioned and forced to go under the disciplinary council for passing out bail, and also forced to answer to his subordinate. Thank you very much for bringing that up. This is a shame and we should not tolerate it. Barrister Dr. John Ako, one party system 70. Are we at the level one party system? Is this sign of true democracy for all 70 to come from one political party, which definitely means that all 100 will come from one political party, because the head of state cannot, or maybe out of his benevolence, appoint just a handful of opposition.
One of the things, it is a law, is going to appoint, and like I've said in other domains, we might not know why the Constitution even made mention of appointment or appointing senators. One of the things we have never seen in any part of the world. Well, somewhere I want to ask and think that the CPDM in itself does not mind to have Cameroon to themselves. They will tell you that Cameroon remains a multi-party system because parliamentary elections have not yet been organized. Obviously, they are also going to have 90% at the parliament, hoping that maybe the PCRO and a few might come in and grab 10 seats. This is equally giving an example to tell you whether there is multi-partyism in Cameroon, which gives an idea that there can be multi-partyism in papers. Yes, the laws are good. We all recognize that Cameroon has one of the most beautiful laws, even though some are very crooked, like that of what we call the indirect suffrage. The indirect suffrage that even brought into light the establishment of the Senate. And one of those people, I will still insist that, to me, I don't even see the value of the Senate. And for what purpose it serves Cameroonians. Instead, it wallops a whole lot of billions of francs CFA just to create no impact. Now it is compensation. Retired officers, military officers, judges, civil servants, top directors and managers of public corporations that cannot manage again the corporation. It is a home where we all go to sleep, because there we don't work anything. The executive formulate the bills, and when they come, we simply need to acclaim by voting. We vote, we clap, then we share the amount, the outstation allowances or the mission allowances for that particular purpose. When you intimidate, when a government lives within its position to intimidate opposition members, when there is gross use of the military against civilians, when people are arrested from their homes, we have an intention of propagating a message as a political party, when on everyday basis, Cameroonians who stand in the name of the journalists are intimidated and picked up, others beaten to death, and such a system does not respond, what becomes of a common man? Somewhere, fear becomes an act. When people join a party because they intend they have not been eating well and they wish to eat fatly and bigly, what do you think of such a system? 41 years after, the results are present. The extent to which they might be in liberation, they might be with freedom of expression, but the freedom after expression. They might be in a state of freedom of multi-party politics, but to what extent they will know that multipartism does not exist will take us some time. And that is 41 years. Then Cameroonians have become a unique party system, which means that the CPDM overrules. From the presidency today to the common man on the streets, what we see are the CPDM fabrics. When a single individual use state resources to finance his own elections, when members of that party are both and in all manner top management officials of parastatals with billions in their cupboard to contribute for such a party, what is reserved for a leaning, lagging, and dying opposition, which will be clamoring and looking for ways of having his own financial autonomy. Somewhere, a lot are left to quarrel, like the scramble and the division that has just reigned some few weeks or months behind in the SDF party. The party is unable to account for money disbursed for elections within his own very party. Accountability, hunger, others without jobs, looking at politics as a means of getting job. Somewhere, people say that thieves are better to be in the streets than legalized thieves in the name of politicians to rule in official position. This is what the Cameroonian government has been characterized. And for 41 years, such legality has become the usurped of rules in favor of the CPDM party. The opposition are nowhere to be found. And I'm thinking that the next parliamentary election will again prove us better and right that opposition in Cameroon is simply an empty propaganda. And again, a whistleblower that I am hungry. Can you appoint me? That is just what we have seen. Others joining the government and others standing tall that they will never join the government. But they've received series and billions of envelopes in terms of condolences, anniversaries, or birthdays or wedding practices from members of the same party.
Doctor,
those who don't even have the means
Doctor,
to even register for such elections are even contributed and aided to register so that they will sing and join the same party.
Doctor, do you have evidence of what you are saying, that this opposition actually receive huge money from birthdays, funerals, and
you have not been saying?
No,
have you not been saying?
I've not been saying.
If you have not been saying, I'm telling you that several opposition members have lost family members, and we have received condolence visit from the ruling party.
Of
and
course,
that has been regular.
It's just between the lines of all Cameroon cradles.
I'm just telling you that it is a line, and it gets burnt down to politics. And that politics, somewhere Chidiat, you said, it is what? I scratch my back, I scratch your own. In some domain, I'm telling you that the political parties in Cameroon, some are equally created by the ruling party, and some said they are in coalition. You are an opposition party, and you are in coalition with the ruling government.
Doctor,
what ideas do you have? When you get into coalition, it means there was no need for you to have a political party, and that your intention is that President Pobia is a creator. So why call yourself an opposition party?
But doctor,
why you have to form a coalition with the ruling party?
Doctor, these are just allegations that the ruling party create opposition party. Because we are just alleging. Because why will the ruling party that you have said has all the mechanisms and budget and resources to make dominance, still go ahead and create an opposition party, and yet still win all 70 seats in the senatorial election.
Yeah, the technique is that
is that not
divided or united they will stand and divided they will fall? For us to have the 100% and the supreme and absolute control of the territory, we need to render them divided. Remember, I just want to take an example for you to know that the Anglophone crisis today, we notice, have created more followers as CPDM members from the Anglophone elites. A lot of those who think it is time for them to condemn what is going on in the Northwest and Southwest and become CPDM members is what is happening today. And others present them as CPDM members, of which they are simply people who have been paid as propaganda agents, and they receive huge amount of money again from their various elites.
Doctor,
in their various
on the different WhatsApp forums,
even on Facebook, on social media, even on TV platforms.
Yes.
We have people with TV platforms to propagate such information. And they are still opposition. They said they will win in 2025.
Doctor, how do we blame the opposition for this CPDM 100% victory, where we have seen that the Anglophone crisis have actually paved the way for CPDM to win all the seats? Will it be fair to say that Amber gave CPDM all the seats of the North and Southwest region?
It is simply a political propaganda. Before Amber, what was CPDM in the same areas? After Amber, it has simply strengthened the stealing machinery of the CPDM. Not like it has gained the opposition.
Was it not the armed fighters who decided that CPDM should win by blocking the other opposition party?
They have not
running during the municipal
Amber
election.
has never blocked anybody. Instead, Amber has intimidated more of the CPDM elites than any.
They have not had win election in this area, and opposition are crying that
you know the type of elections we have in Cameroon, and you know places that never voted. Even the government is aware. Before election of senators, there was a need for the primaries. Can you cite me an area in the North and the Southwest where the primaries were held and the senators or representatives were chosen? Can you cite one? I know of a Lekam on election day. I have not heard of primaries in any part in southern Cameroon. They were decided by political party ethical rules, or what we call party discipline.
The primaries were not heard in Bamenda.
No. Just cite me one. I said if you have one, you tell me. But if you don't have, don't tell me that you don't know of any. And so we conclude that there was none. And that the same people, 100% was made even before the election. Because the person I have as a senator in my division remains a senator for this election. I did not see anybody he contested with. If you have somebody who contested with maybe Senator Mbela Mukicha, you tell me that this one contested with him.
Because we had Senator Mbela Mukicha that contested with the former GC board. We had
when this last session,
in Boya they were
primary.
Won. Yes, they were in Boya. Yes, in Boya they were primary. So it was headed by the former Grand Chancellor Peter Mafama.
Yeah, where were the primaries of the BLM?
No, you are talking about where it was done. I'm telling you where it was done. It occurred in Boya, and I'm sure primaries occurred in Bamenda Center.
No, they never.
The election, the senatorial elections in Bamenda was even a cacophony. I mean, on the day of election, all senators were kept in one hotel, like people preparing for a match that was going to come at 3 p.m. So they gather as football players of one team and go in for the game. They were paid from parties, finance, hotel bills, they ate and drank, so to see that they don't deviate from the rules. Is this really election? When electorate's consciences are being bought before the elections, it is not election.
So you are saying that they were
buying. It has been, even if it is not buying, it is vote manipulation, conscience manipulation. And that is just it. They cannot keep in a hotel, you eat and drink from the same budget and you go and vote a different candidate. So these are things which are not permitted by electoral rules. On that account, Elekam even had the mandate to annul. But it's getting funny when Elekam does not even have the power to pronounce the results. And that the results have been pronounced by the Constitutional Council. But then I'm just giving you the jaunt of the judiciary and how the CPDM has manipulated the laws in his favor. When you allow Elekam to simply count a deposit and the Constitutional Council is the one to proclaim. Who is the Constitutional Council? At what extent has he even mastered the field where voting did not go on well? Do they even notice, or do they even care of the life of the people? And again, when such people from the Constitutional Council to the Supreme Court to whatsoever, the mayors, to what we have, the DOs, are appointed
but
by single
doctor,
individual.
Is it not also advantageous for the fact that a party who is not okay with the process can actually make an elector to be a respondent to his petition? Because we have not seen a lot of people. I'm coming.
Jarvis, most of the petitions at the Constitutional Council were against Eleka.
Yes, but Eleka.
I said they were against Eleka. Was not
all of them, not most.
All were against Eleka, and so the Constitutional Council sat for the government and for the CPDM and annulled or rejected all of them, and the results favored the ruling party. What we were saying, in a system which is honest, indirect suffrage is just a misfit of the coverage of the rules of law, and again, political intimidation. If the head of state wants Cameroonians to feel free, give every Cameroonian the monopoly too, the right to manifest and carry out political propaganda rather than what we call political or administrative requisition. A lot of political parties are being sanctioned every day. They have no right to even hold a meeting. For you to organize a meeting in your compound, you need authorization from the SDO. And the SDO is there. He knows that in 2 years' time, there is a need for appointment. He cannot be the one to legalize. You come to hold such a meeting, when even such meetings are held in a private basis, not even in a public space.
We now have
when we have such continuous...
So why can we not use the digital system? We now have
why digital? Digital people have been arrested on WhatsApp and Facebook. Am I the one telling you that? So just on WhatsApp and Facebook pages and messages sent,
so if I go for a Zoom meeting, who will arrest me for a Zoom?
Do you mean Zoom? Yes. You are not identified?
No, Zoom meeting is a private meeting now.
Call it whatever. That's why I said public or private meetings, people have been arrested.
No, for Zoom.
Calling Zoom equally supports the idea that we are in a dictatorial state.
It is liberty. I said, except you don't know, hold a meeting here now and say Cameroon is going to divide. Let's stand me and you sit in Bamenda, let everyone sit in Bafufam, and we have such a Zoom that Cameroon should divide by April 2024 and see if you will not be arrested. Will such a meeting be considered? Because you're on Zoom, you can be identified. And the law and the state has such
power. Doctor, thank you.
Within what we are saying, government should cease from arbitrary arrest of political parties, political intimidation of opponents, and using appointment as a gift rather than appointment based on meritocracy. Cameroonians need visionary leaders and administrators that are honest and sincere.
Okay,
a lot.
We're out of time.
We
Doctor.
have
Tama Jarvis.
I'm coming back to you. We're out of time.
Tama Jarvis.
Let me come. Let me learn. We're out of time. I'll just give you a minute to conclude. I want to wish you Titanji Raphael. Titanji Raphael, happy birthday to you. Titanji Raphael, happy birthday to you, and we wish you many more years. May the Almighty God continue to guide you as you celebrated your birthday this month of March. And also to you, Vicky Chichi, I want to wish you, Vicky Chichi Chemelicious, a happy birthday to you, which is in this month of March, and I pray that the good gods continue to guide and protect you as you celebrate your birthday this period of March. Happy birthday to you, Vicky Chichi, and also happy birthday to all those of you celebrating in March. Thank you for coming.
Tama Jarvis, I wouldn't leave this studio without saying what I wanted to say.
No, we're out of time.
I wanted to say that there is no opposition in Cameroon, that Cameroonians should not be fooled any longer. Like Dr. Akko John said a while ago, most of these satellite CPDM opposition parties are being sponsored by CPDM. We even see some of them who are hard criminals, who grew up as hardened criminals, who have parties today. We even have some of them who have created channels to escrow Cameroonians from their hard-earned money in the name of sending them abroad. These people are in Cameroon. We have not seen the judiciary fall on them. These people are backed up by people who are in the government, and I think it is time for the Cameroonian youth to be thinking of how to rise up and face such dubious youth. If a youth can take upon himself to be fooling and duping other Cameroonians in the name of making them to travel out of the country, I think this country needs to be rebuilt. And to rebuild it, we have to retain certain values, and those values must come from our justice system.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akko, for coming.
Yeah, a pleasure. Once more, I want equally to salute the eminence of Professor Tamasan Fromwi, Vice Dean of the University of Yaoundé too, and his most gracious professor, equally Professor Ngwafo, PY or Ephraim Day Ngwafo, still of the University and of the Gideon's law firm in Yaoundé.
Thank you very much. And this one, right, he says, it's a confidential message, but it says, as you read part, it says, Mr. Tamai Jarvis, there were no primaries in Boya, Fako, and Southwest region as a whole. What you are citing is hearsay and unfounded and should not be coming from a journalist of your standing. And of course, I have to read that out, but we were told that there were primaries that actually took place, not within the context of maybe what you expected, but actually there were a debate as to who represent the people of some constituency in the Southwest region. We saw the Grand Chancellor having a meeting. We also saw how they were meeting at the Boya Council Hall. There was a meeting at Boya Council Hall for this electoral process. We saw how lists were moving about, and how those who managed to represent the constituency succeeded in having it. So primaries in the contest can be defined in different ways. It may not be an in-sitting primary, but also be a list submission to their secretariat, and at that level is being debated upon whether you should or you shouldn't represent. Thank you very much, all those of you who took our time to participate on this program. We want to say this program comes every Sunday at exactly 12 to 1:30. If you are out there, you want to be a member of our panel, you want to take part in our political debate, you can contact me on the numbers on your screen. I will put you into the WhatsApp group, and when I add you into the WhatsApp group, when we have a debate, a topic that is of your interest, you indicate your participation, then we will actually put you on the list of those who will participate for that edition, and so that you can make your voices heard. A lot of you have been writing and complaining that why do we bring one and the same people over and over again. The TV is open for you. A lot of you professors and doctors, feel free, come and make your voices heard. As Napoleon once said, that don't complain about the windmill, complain also about the wind blowing the windmill. And we are used to complaining and saying that don't bring one and the same people. Also, you come and make your voices heard, so that we'll give you the opportunity. You can follow us on our Facebook page, My Media Prime TV, or BT Media Group on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube, BT Media Group on YouTube. On Twitter, My Media Prime on Twitter. That is our Twitter handle. And also, I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you this day is that you should stay out of trouble. My name is Tamai Jarvis from Cameroon's commercial capital, Douala. Fengu John Bange. Bye bye.
Welcome to a new